Yo, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another MoBetta trading episode. We're gonna get into a few charts today. There's a bunch of stuff really hanging in the balance right now. There's a lot of things that is going on under the curtain, and so we're gonna kind of peel back the layers of what's going on in the crypto markets right now. I know everybody is kind of like on edge. Is the cycle over? Do we still have more room to go? What do we do from here? All the good stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's that time. So we're just gonna go ahead and get into it. We're gonna break it down, and I'm gonna give you my thoughts on what I think is going to happen in the market over the next coming weeks, coming months per se, but especially in the immediate term, right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. We are looking obviously at Bitcoin. This is on the monthly chart, okay? So the first thing I want to do is kind of get in context where we are right now. Okay, we had 4 months straight up after we dumped March and April. Okay, so after the tariffs in April, we went 4 months straight up. We had our very first pullback month. We had a bearish month overall in August. And we have finished this month, or we are finishing the month, I should say, as it comes to a close in the next 24 hours. We're going to be finishing this month bullish. So on a very large time frame, on our monthly time frame, we have created support here at the $107,440 mark. Now this, because of the time frame that is happening on, right? Obviously, it's happening on the monthly time frame. This is an extremely critical level here. This $107,000 level is extremely critical. As you can see, we came really close. As a matter of fact, we even did breach August's low by just a hair. Well, we were literally just a hair below. Okay, so we kind of deviated that, and we are now on pace at least to finish the monthly candle bullish. Okay, so again, should it finish this way? We've got a monthly candle finishing bullish after creating resistance, so that creates support. Now we've got a very critical support area at $107,825.28, whatever you want to say. Okay, so we dropped that down into the weekly, right? Now the weekly, this is obviously a very definitive area here. Boom. Okay, we're maintaining this area as an area of support. We came down, tried to retest it last week, retested it, but ultimately closed way back up here. Now, if we had closed this candle way down here, I would have had a lot more caution in thinking that we still have room to go in this bull market. Now, we're not quite out of the woods yet, but the fact that we were able to finish last week's candle so weak, right? And by weak, I mean we pushed way down into 108,000, but we closed in the upper 50% of this candle, right? So that means that there's a lot of buyers, there's a lot of demand down here in this area, and so sellers could not maintain the selling pressure as deep as they would have liked to, and we ultimately settled last week around $112,000, give or take $100 or so. Okay, and with that being said, we do have a resistance that has formed immediately overhead on the weekly time frame. Okay, so boom, we have an immediate area of resistance just above. Okay, so why do I say that? If we can get either this weekly candle, as we understand that the new quarter is going to begin on Wednesday, so tomorrow is the last day of this quarter. New candle will begin the new quarter will begin on Wednesday. Why does it still say Monday? Monday, October. Oh, okay. I'm stupid because it's on the weekly. Anyway, forgive my dumb ass. Anyway, like I was saying. So on the weekly time frame, we need a candle. Excuse me. On the weekly time frame, we need a candle to close above, or to break above. First off, we break above 115,500, just as if we were looking at this on the 10 minute or the 15 minute or the 30 minute or the 1 hour, it doesn't really matter. If we were to get a break above 115,500, that would be considered an impulse entry that you could go long and expect to fill at least up into 119,500, maybe even to 120,000, if not all the way up towards 124K. Okay, now obviously this is going to be a really strong area of resistance. Okay, again, it's on the weekly time frame, so it may take a little bit of work to actually get above here. Now, if we can get not only a break but a close above this area, then we're really going to be talking. I think that we got a pop up that we could definitely get to as the weeks progress, right? But again, this is all just hypothetical, right? So until that happens, we are literally just stuck in this range between 107,000 and 115,600. Okay, and then even the range is extended up to the 119,500 area, if you want to consider that your next area of major resistance, which it is. Right, so on the weekly time frame, this is what we're looking like. Okay, now if we drop this down into the daily, we can even pack this down a little bit more. Okay, so on the daily time frame, what have we just done? Well, we had a move that broke support, traded directly down into the next support, and was unable to continue pushing lower. And what we basically got was a tower bottom. Okay, now price was trying to push down lower but could not sustain itself, reversed and broke structure, broke this downtrend, and closed a candle above this area of resistance, right? So this really is no longer an area of resistance. We'll see if we're going to retest it and create it or turn it into an area of support, right? So we would have to come back down here, boom, retest that area and hold this area as an area of support. Okay, if we're to get a pullback. Okay, otherwise at this point, the only thing there's only a couple of things that we can do. Either because we had a candle that it was an impulse entry on a Sunday that broke above a resistance candle and ultimately traded higher into the next resistance. Now we have our Monday candle that broke and closed above an area of resistance. I would anticipate that we're going to get a pullback. So you could either wait until this candle forms a pullback down here and then look to get long somewhere in this area. Say if we were to, say the next candle were to finish bearish. Okay. Let's just make this percent. Okay. Doesn't even have to finish this strong, right? Say it finished something like, like this, where we got a decent push down, but just like on higher time frames, it ends up closing kind of weak, right? Say we get a daily candle that looks like this, and then the next candle can wick down and respect that low, but then break this candle's high here. Okay. Let's make this orange. Okay, so if we were able to get something like this, where again we're able to get a candle to respect the high or respect the low, and then we can break a resistance candle's high, then we would have created a clean range area, right, where we could take the entry there. Your stop loss would go, below wherever this candle's low may be, wherever this bullish candle's low may be. Okay, and then you could target this area at 117,000 first. But I would say more than likely might be able to target about 118,000 before you got some resistance. Okay. Now, of course, this is on the daily time frame. Who knows what it's going to look like? It may not, just only take 2 days. It may take several days for this kind of move to happen, and it may not look exactly like this. But this is kind of an idea of what I would like to see develop in order to get a continuation higher, right? Okay. So until we get something like that to happen, or if we're on the lower time frames and you're, in a high volume session like New York or London, pre-London, something like that, right? And we're just looking at this candle, right? Now, again, I would say have caution tomorrow because it is going to be the end of the month. So who knows what the candle is going to look like. But if we were to finish this candle, bearish, I would be looking for support to be forming somewhere in this area to take it higher. And if support were to form like what we had just seen, and instead, so say we get a bearish candle to form down here, right? And then the next candle is bullish but does not break that high, does not break this high, and then instead the next candle after that breaks the low here after creating support on a higher time frame, then that would be and we would have to close below support because we can wick below it, but if we close below it, then that would be okay, well, maybe this move actually is going to retrace a little bit further down, maybe into the $110,000 area, okay? And maybe we would look for longs down here, potentially, or maybe we just are looking for shorts at that point only. It would it would depend on what the formation looks like. But if we were to get something that developed like this, you could take the sell below support, but as price broke below support, and if it closed below support, same principle, wick up, break below that low, and then we can continue moving down. Okay. So, wow, that was kind of bearish and, bullish ideas, what I would be looking for. At this point, though, I don't really think that there's anything to do. We've already moved up. If you look at the break of this candle's high, which this would be the area where you would have wanted to get in. If not, you would have wanted to get in at the break of 112,450. So from 112,450, we're already up 2%. Okay, and then from this candle's low, we are up 4.5%. Okay, so you could get some pullbacks. I think the thing you don't want to do is, as we're coming into basically retest the underside of this breakdown, right? You don't want to be getting long here because we could very well hit this area, reject, like I said, and then come fill this area lower. Okay. I think that would be not necessarily worst case scenario, but I would prefer that we were able to reclaim this level up here, hold it, and then get out of there. Of course, everybody would love for that to happen instead if you're a bull, unless you're a gay bear, which then you have other problems that you need to address. But that's neither here nor there. So the only way that I can get long is if we form some resistance here as we retest this underside area and we break that resistance level and are able to hold this area up here. Otherwise, to get bearish, right, I would need to see a resistance candle form, candle wick up, respect the high, break the low, and then we can continue down. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So that was kind of a lot. But yeah, I'm in the personal opinion that we are going to be going higher before we go lower. I think that everything kind of still lines up. When you're looking at the monthly, if you're looking at the weekly, monthly is going to finish bullish. The weekly is going to, last week was a very weak bearish candle. This week could very well end strongly bullish. It could end weekly bullish as well, right? Like you could end the week where it's all the way back down to 112,000, or if we even flip the low here, right? Like if on the weekly we flip the low from at 111,000, right? So now that we've put in a low here, we shouldn't cross back below it if we're going to remain bullish, okay? Just like you would look at this on any other time frame. So if we flip this low at 111,000, then you could say maybe we fill the wick in all the way, and maybe we even sweep this area. So we could do something like this. Okay, possible. It's possible. You just have to be prepared for everything, really. I don't want to be the, either goes up, down, or sideways. I'm just laying out scenarios that you can, kind of prepare yourself for to see. So that way, if they or should they present themselves, you know how to act and you know what it is that you would have been looking for in order to get involved with the market. So for me, the only way to get involved with the market at this point is if we are able to really breaking the weekly high would be the best idea in my opinion. If you were to break the weekly high at about 115,400 and that's about 115,500 actually. So if you're able to break and close above here, that would be a really good long trigger to get into buys. If we were to break below 111,600, or should we start to form some resistance even sooner up in this area, then we may be triggered into a short. But until either of those two things happen, there's really nothing to do in between here. This is just going to be a chop fest in my opinion. We could see on the 4 hour maybe something develop and potentially could get involved, if like we want to scalp or if you want to take an intraday move. But as far as like swing moves are concerned, there's only a couple of things that can get me involved right now, and we have to just wait and see if those are going to happen. If not, we'll adjust accordingly. All right. Okay, cool. So that was Bitcoin. Let's go to ETH. ETH is very similar. Again, if we want to start this we'll go from the monthly scale. On the monthly scale, ETH, in my opinion, looks even better than Bitcoin does. We had so we came up and basically swept previous all-time highs by just a smidge. We closed back below it. Now we are forming a monthly bearish candle. Okay, but again, this bearish candle, not only is it weak, but it hasn't even broke structure, right? We've still put in a higher low. We put in a higher low and we put in a lower high, right? Can you see that? So we made a high here, made a low here. We're going to be closing this week with a lower high and with a higher low. Okay, so basically what we have is sort of an inside bar candle on the monthly time frame. So there's only one of two things that can really happen, right? We're either going to be in a range between 47.60 and 38.08, which is a really large range. Until we can get above or below either of those levels, we're just going to go sideways. Okay, but if we break it down even further, we'll go ahead and just take a look and see where we could potentially be getting involved, right? Okay, so we have resistance here at 4,800, 48.02, give or take a couple points. We have this, oops, let me go ahead and put a line here. Okay, so we have some support forming. This is not a confirmed support, obviously, because the weekly candle is still open, but we have support forming right now. So if we take this onto the daily time frame, or before I even do that, we say that we also have support down here at around 34.79. Okay, why is that support? Because we had a bearish candle, we had a bullish candle that broke above that high. That is while support is formed. That is a support candle at this point. Okay. We did have, obviously, this weekly candle broke structure and closed below previous support at 42.95. So technically, again, we are bearish, even though it is a weak bearish candle. There's a potential for us to break this low at 40.75 and continue filling the wick down to 38.15 and potentially down to 34.86. If Bitcoin were to pull back, you can almost guarantee that Ethereum is going to pull back and pull back harder. So that's just something to keep in mind, right? But anyway, so let's go ahead and drop to the daily time frame. On the daily, we can adjust this a little bit better even. So we had this area was held as support. Obviously, we punched through it. Boom. Couldn't continue the move down. Reversed here. We put in a bullish candle. We had a bearish form on Saturday, a bearish candle form on Saturday. Sunday's candle broke above that resistance high. Now that has officially made this into an area of support, right? Just completely technically speaking, this is now an area of support. We don't really have to go too far back right now. We're going to work with what is in front of us here. Okay, so we have support here at about $4,000, give or take, on the daily time frame. And we're now forming some sort of resistance. Now, if this candle on the daily can flip and push above its high at 42.40, let's say at 42.46, if we could flip 42.46, we could probably continue pushing up into this previous breakdown area at around 44.50. Okay, it's about a 5% move. Otherwise, again, this candle is still open, so that would be an aggressive entry. But theoretically, if we break above the high, we should continue pushing higher. So again, on the daily time frame, we have this resistance forming. It has not formed. It's not a confirmed formed yet, but it is forming. And then we have support at 40.13. Okay, so we could. There's a bunch of different things that happen, but what I would want to see is, say we were to close. Let's look at the 4 hour. Okay, this 4 hour even is a really good area of interest. So boom, we have this 4 hour now printing some resistance here. Okay, we've pushed above this area of liquidity, swept this liquidity, formed a bearish candle. Now you can say there's two things that you can do here. There's two ways that you can enter, and I'll show you an aggressive way, and I'll show you the more conservative, confirmed way, right? So the aggressive way would be, okay, you see that we formed a bearish candle and we're at resistance. If this candle were to break this low, you could have your stop loss above 42.47. I would keep it pretty tight, because if it were to go above here, that would be, an obvious invalidation in my opinion. Okay. Or so if we break the low, you could have your stop above this 4 hour candle's high, and you could be targeting the next area of support on the 4 hour, which would be here at 40.95. Okay. That's an aggressive short entry right now, right? That's assuming that we're not gonna come and take this low here, but leave this candle's low respected and then reverse out. Okay. Again, this is an aggressive entry. If you wanted to take it, you could. 1.45 risk, pretty. That's solid. Otherwise, what you would want to see is a bullish candle form here that we're not able to break the high. Okay. Not able to break the high. Okay. And then, so this then would have created an area of support, right? Hope y'all are staying with me here. Okay, and then if the next candle were to push up, respect these highs, and then break back below here and break this candle's low, this support candle's low, then you could take that trade down. Okay? Then you could take that trade down to support. Okay? So this would be the safer idea because you would have a couple of very clear ideas, right? Either you would print this candle as support and the next candle would break below and you'd have a clean range to move lower, or you'd form this candle as support, and if you're more bullish leaning, as long as we respected this low, and then broke above this high, we could push up and fill into some of this gap, this large candle run, right? Obviously this large big ass fucking breakdown area, this gigantic fucking 6% move, right? Now I think this probably could take a little bit more time, but if it happens, as in take a little more time, as in it may need a little more time to develop for something like that to happen bullishly. But if it were to happen during a high volume time like London or New York session, you know, you would have to trust that volume is going to break the candle out and continue pushing it higher. Right now, it may not come in and fill this entire area here, right? Like it may not push higher and fill all 7%, right? It may just push higher and only fill a couple of percent. But you can get a really good move out of a move higher if you know what you're looking for. Okay. Otherwise, again, breaking this candle's low would basically, you know, kind of indicate that this trend may be ending and that we come retest a little bit lower. Okay, so cool. That was Bitcoin. That's Ethereum on the 4 hour. Again, I implore you to wait for a high volume time to be doing any of this, to be even looking at trade ideas. And keep in mind, again, that tomorrow is the end of the month, so things can get wonky either way. It might even, in my opinion, it's probably going to be best just to kind of sit tomorrow out and look and wait to see how Wednesday and Thursday are going to develop. For all we know, those could be better opportunity days. And maybe not. Like, you could see this as an opportunity coming up at you, staring at you in the face right now. You know, it depends on what type of trader you are and what you're exactly looking for out of the markets, right? But yeah. So those were a couple of scenarios for Bitcoin and for Ethereum. I'm not really going to go over Solana and XRP. I think that these two are really like the things that we need to be focusing on. Of course, you know, all of this is going to be contingent upon what the Russell does, in my opinion. If the Russell and NASDAQ pull back, then you can almost guarantee that everything else is going to pull back. But if they continue their march up higher, I would imagine that ETH and, you know, altcoins are going to get their legs going as well. So anyways, I hope that you found something useful, some educational content out of this. If you enjoyed, please do me a favor and hit that like, repost it, hit the subscribe button if you're not following me on YouTube. If you're not following me on TikTok, you can find me on all the socials at Mr. MoBetta Trading. Yeah. Otherwise, that's going to do it for me, guys. You know, it's kind of, right now it's just a waiting game. Obviously, it is 11 o'clock at night, so we're not really in a high volume session. There's nothing to do. This is just what I'm looking for, what I'm anticipating kind of developing over the coming hours, days, and, you know, heading even further than that into the next couple of weeks, how I'll be looking to navigate everything. But as of right now, these are the ideas that I'm looking at, that I'm keeping an eye on for Ethereum and for Bitcoin. Yeah. So that's going to do it for me. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And until next time, peace.